If you enjoyed the channel and our video content and would like to support us, you can do this in a couple of ways. You can sign up to our Patreon site, which is a monthly subscription to one of our 4 tiers, each giving you something different from early access interviews up to exclusive unseen footage. There's also the option of a one-off donation via PayPal, which allows you the option to donate an amount of your choice. Both options really help to keep this channel going and to continue putting out regular content for you good folk. So please take a look at aircrewinterview.tv/donate, and I thank you in advance. Thank you and enjoy. Let's move on to your time on being the demo pilot, because obviously that's where everyone's going to know you from, TEO. So can you tell us how...
hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did this slot come about? Did you apply or did someone come to you? How did this all work for you?
Well, another funny story, right? So I didn't know that I would want to do that, and it was, I think, it was a summer in 2014 or something. One of the demo pilots back then is doing a flight, and the only jet available is a 2-seater, and he's like, "Anybody want to come?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure thing. I have nothing to do today. I want to come." So I jump in the back seat. And it was the old demo profile we had, which was very, very G heavy, very powerful. And he's like, "Okay, Theo, we're doing a hot pit. So that means we're doing one display, hot pit, another display. So you get 2 for the price of 1, right?" So, and we just had some new G suits with new connections. And it turned out my connection to the G suit failed. So halfway through his first display, and I'm just holding on for dear life, trying to, he's talking me through it a little bit, like, "Oh, I do this and this and this," and I think the G's are so hard, and I can't understand why until I discover that my G pants are not working. There's no air in them, and I look down, and the connection keeps falling off. So I end up with 1.5 times display with having my hand down, holding the connection to make sure it didn't disconnect. And when you have your, I don't know if you experience G a lot, but when you have your hand down or your whatever you put down, it kind of all the blood goes to the hand, and it feels that is actually quite painful when you put a lot of G. So that was a fun story, and I remember the flight. And after that flight, I was kind of like, okay, this is actually some of the most challenging flying you do, very close to the ground. It's kind of dangerous, but it's also really, really interesting and really fun because it's so challenging. So after that, I kind of got the taste for it, and all of a sudden, some of the some of the demo pilots had to do something else, and I was like, well, I did the back seat, and I'm eligible with the right amount of hours and stuff, so I just put my hand up, and they looked around like, "Yeah, okay, you're the next one then." So, yeah,
so that was it.
So then we start. Yeah, that was but back then it was a little bit different. I mean, it was more. We had 3 or 4 demo pilots because it's not a flying display; it's a demonstration of the F-16. So you did maybe 1 or 2 public demonstrations a year, or otherwise it was for recruiting and some internal stuff. So it wasn't as flashy and as PR related as it is now. So it was different times back then. But I got started, and I think I flew my first the first 2 years was just displays in Denmark and for VIP and recruitment and stuff like that. And then then we had another war, and then we had I think I had my first international display at Yeovilton in the UK.
So did you, obviously when you joined, I think it was 2015 as the demo pilot, did you just have to go with the previous displays beforehand and do that, or could you make your own routine up?
There's no making your own routine in Denmark because it's not a highly prioritized thing to be the display pilot. It's a side job. It's not dedicated. You're still just an operational squadron pilot. and you have that extra assignment, the same as if you were the snacko or the scheduler or
Got ya.
planning guy or whatever. So so it's not dedicated team, traveling around all the air shows. So there's because it's not prioritized that high. It there's a set routine that you have to do. So it's written in the rule books, like in the flying command orders. So there's no deviating from that. You can take maneuvers out for weather and stuff like that, but you cannot add anything or change the sequence in any way. So it's written in the rule book, and I started up on the old display. So that was kind of cool, because then we made a new one. 4 of the demo pilots together made suggestions for a new one back in 2018-19, which was then approved by a command, and then written into the rules. So that's the one I've been flying for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, so can you talk us through, I guess, like workups? So, like, did you have to start off at 5,000 feet, then 1,000 feet, 500, etc., or did you go straight into it?
You kind of go straight into it, but the way it works is you start off with just watching the demo pilot do his thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, the F-16 has a 2-seater. We had 8 2-seaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you jump in the back seat. He demonstrates the high profile. He demonstrates the low profile. And then after that, you go to the simulator. And then you go through the high profile, the low profile, and the demo pilot tells you, you suck. You have no idea what the sequence is. You practice more. Then you practice a lot in the simulator, and then you do it again. You show him in the simulator the high profile, the low profile, and then he says, okay, it's not good, but it's good enough to go flying. Then you go flying with him in the back seat, and you do the high profile, you do the low profile, and you do that 2 or 3 times, and then he will evaluate and say, okay, I think you're ready to do it solo. And then he will go to the tower, and you will do it solo. So that's a lot of simulators and a lot of flights before you actually do it in a single seat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And a requirement in Denmark is that you have to have 1,200 hours on the type and be a flight lead before you go into the demo profile. So it's always experienced guys. So that was kind of the reason for there's no step down process, but maybe there should have been. Anyways, so that's the profile, and after that he clears you solo, and after a couple of displays, he's like, okay, you're good enough, you're good to go, and he ticks you off, writes the boss that TEO is good enough to go do displays.
And can you remember your first public air show?
Of course I can. I was, scared shitless right now. No, you are very nervous, right? Because it's the first time. So luckily for me, as I mentioned, it was the first real public one, like a big one, not just back home at home base, was in Youlton, UK.
Yes.
I
was there.
Okay, well, back in the day, right? And it was a great experience. Good place, friendly people, and lots of other F-16s back then, right? So the other guys were very nice. The other display guys to welcome the new guy and help out with stuff, right? So but I remember that was a whole lot of fun, and display was not very good, but
Did you really?
that's always a pilot opinion, right? Because you're like, oh, that should have been better, but.
I remember saying to my girlfriend, because I remember we went, I think it was a Saturday, I can't remember if it was both Saturday, but we both went, and I remember I was like, oh, the Danish F-16's on. And I was like, that was my favourite display of, I know Typhoon were there, Rafale, or the Navy Rafales, and yours was my favourite one.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear.
Yeah, not so glad smoke, it generally was, yeah.
Actually, remember the Navy Rafale?
Yeah.
That was the white panther or tiger one, right?
Yeah.
That color scheme was like, wow.
Yeah, that was
That was
crazy.
cool.
I remember seeing it sitting on the pan, but yours was my favorite display. So yes, cheers for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. So glad to hear. I really liked flying at Jolson. It's a nice setup. It's the airfield and display area and stuff like that. It's very yeah, it's very good.
So let's move on to like where you said, I think you said 2018, 2019, where you changed the display or the routine. Can you tell us about this? And did you have a favorite maneuver from this show that you've flown to this day?
Definitely. So what we changed was that the old routine was very F-16 old school, high
Mm.
speed, lots of G's with high speed, making for it looks good, but it's a question of philosophy. It's also at some points during the routine you are far away from the crowd,
Mhm.
and these days people just swipe right if nothing happens for
Yep.
10 seconds, right? So we we changed the profile to be closer to the crowd at all times, uh, meant for slower, tighter turns, more rolling maneuvers, more AOA maneuvers, still including, of course, the high-speed pass and the min-radius powerful G turns, of course, and also some over-the-top twice. I really like, we have a double Immerman, I call it, but it's actually just, it's over the top twice,
Mhm.
because that was also in the old routine, but it kind of shows the enormous amount of power that the F-16 has. You can do an over-the-top maneuver, roll around, and just do one more, right?
Mhm.
Because and that's the old routine also had a max vertical climb. People loved that as well, but the problem was you went from 100 feet up to 27,000, and you're gone, right? Most of the time you're gone, and then if the weather conditions were there, you pulled a small contrail. So the cool part about that, if you were a bit nerdy, is that you can go from 100 feet to 27,000 really fast, do a contrail, and then spiral down, right? However, we have no smoke. So all the time you're up there, if there's no contrail, nobody sees you. Many air shows around Europe does not have the airspace to allow that
Mhm.
climb that high. And if you have to level off the climb at 7,000 or something, that's, the impressiveness and the idea of it kind of goes away, right? In the UK, you're not allowed to drop flares. Many other
Yeah.
places, you're not allowed to drop flares. So I couldn't even use the flares on the way down to say, hey, I'm actually still here.
Yeah.
So what it felt like at air shows was that when we did that maneuver, people were like, oh, that was the end of it. He's gone.
Mm.
And then when you came back and continued 2 minutes after, people were like, oh, that's a new guy, or he's here again. Or
Yeah.
so if we don't have a commentary, right? Some air shows we do, but it's a very low budget. So we're only three
Mhm.
people when you go to air shows, and the safety guy is not there to commentate, right? So if you don't have a commentator saying, and now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the F-16 go, vertically to 25,000 feet, blah blah blah, then people are like, yeah. So we took that out, and did more close to the ground maneuvers. No, sorry, close to the audience all the time. And now one of my favorites is the loaded roll, right? The barrel roll. So it's one of the finishing maneuvers of the flight. You started a little bit angling towards the crowd, and then there's consecutive fully loaded barrels with flares. That kind of I really like that. It's one of my favorite maneuvers.
Yeah, it was great, and I think one of my favorite. I wasn't quite a touch and go, but where you come with the gear down and then you put the
The dirty
reheat on the
roll.
burner, dirty roll. Oh my god,
Yeah,
that was great. That was one of my favorite because you're right near the crowd. The burner's on
it's close
again,
to the
and
crowd, and it's
yeah.
I like that a lot too. And I think one of the reasons we were so popular at RIAT this year was those are great guys as well, right? All the airshow organizers, so great guys. And one of the flight directors came to validate me at Skrydstrup, and I knew him from prior seasons. Super nice guy, former, I think he's a former, is he a Hawk pilot or I can't remember what he's from. He's a really cool guy. Um, and he said, "Hey Theo, what about I apply for a waiver that you can actually do your gear down roll over the runway. So do a touch and go on the runway, and then start it there. And I'm like, that's a great idea, because it makes so much more sense that I can actually, and that's closer than the display line, right?
Yeah.
But it makes so much more sense that I approach the actual runway with the gear down, and then do the roll away from the crowd anyways. But that makes so much more sense than flying with the gear down 50 feet right of a runway into the grass, right? If something happens right there, I'm toast, right?
Yeah.
If something happens when you are out over the runway, you can probably just land the jet. So in safety and everything, it makes so much more sense. And he got that waiver for me. It was his idea, and the crowd really loved that, because you get a little closer, and they can see that touch and go into a roll straight off takeoff, which is a very impressive thing.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that amazing livery or paint scheme on the F-16, their 50th anniversary. Where did that come from? And I mean, it's an absolute stunner, isn't it?
It is an absolute stunner, and it's everywhere we look, right? So I'm just gonna grab it real quick.
Yeah, no
Sorry
problem.
about that. There we go.
That's the one.
That's the one. Just, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that that's the one, right? But that is the one. Well, of course, it's the Danish flag on top, right? So back in 2019, we were allowed to paint our first F-16, and the idea, of course, was the jubilee of the national flag, the Dannebro. And according to legend, it fell from the skies to help a warlord who was fighting in some crusade over in Estonia, Tallinn. So in 2019, it dropped from the sky and turned the tide of battle. So we won. And since then, that's the legend of it, right? There's some other more historically correct stories. But since then, it became the national flag of Denmark. And in 2019, it had its 800th jubilee. So our squadron commander back then, a very smart guy, he's like, now is the time. Now is the time to get a paint jet. And he suggested it to boss. It went all the way up, and it was a good idea. There was a competition for the design. And the original Dannebro jet was very simple in the design, 2 colors, red and white, and I guess some black as well. So it was the Danish flag, both top and bottom, and on the tail it said the Dannebro 800. And we were not sure how much, how people would react to that, but they went crazy. In Denmark, they went absolutely crazy, and it became synonymous with the Danish Air Force. So, and it was super popular. We had complaints when we flew it the first times. We had complaints of towns we did not fly over.
All right.
So people wrote on Facebook and stuff like, "Why did you not fly over our town? Do you hate us?" And we're like, okay, it's
That's
an
a good
F-16,
complaint,
right? We have limited fuel, and and especially when you're flying low, so people can see it. But we actually had to do an extra flight for the presentation, because people were like, "We want to see it." So it was extremely popular, right? And the reason we got to paint it back then was because we had Block 10s and Block 15s. And the Block 10s are lacking some wiring, so you can't fit them all the kind of smart weapons you need in a full-up war scenario. So we only use them for QA duties and training and stuff. And we were allowed to paint one of those. So that was a great time, right? I flew around it a lot for displays, and it was always a crowd pleaser, right? It's very distinct against the blue sky, and of course in Denmark we loved it. It's the national flag. So then the Ukraine war happened, and Denmark decided to donate 19 jets for Ukraine, and that meant that Echo 191, the Dannebro jet, was one of the first ones to be donated as the Block 10s for training. So it had to be painted gray. And everybody was like, that should have been put on a pedestal when you're done flying the F-16 and stuff like that. But I actually think, what greater purpose could a jet have that actually try to
mission.
defeat the enemy, save lives and stuff. So people are like, "Are you not devastated?" I'm actually, no. It's gonna be. Of course, it's always sad that you don't have it anymore, but it's a great purpose, and so I flew the last trip while it was still red and white, delivered it at the shop at Aalborg, gave it a pat on the side and said, "Thank you for your service," and then it was painted gray.
Wow.
Yep. And then we got the new jet. So we had an idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
We the original Danabro was painted gray and donated to Ukraine, and then we were like, okay, so 2024 is the 50th anniversary of the F-16.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story there, right? We've had it in Denmark for 45 years, but we still need something with a flag because that's so popular. So the design idea was, how about we made two sides? So the top side, of course, was the flag, but this time more dynamic in a version that shows movement. So the flag as it waves in the wind, and then the bottom was the idea was to have the 50 year of the Viper, right, of the F-16. So there was a thought of making it with Viper motive on the bottom as a snake, but that has already been done by Friske and the Belgian Air Force years prior. So we discarded that and said, okay, it's the F-16 Fighting Falcon. The Falcon is the fastest hunter bird in the world. So we'll have that in one of its lethal dives, wings in the bottom of it, and says 50 in the middle. And then we'll write half-century Fighting Falcon and name it that. And the design of this, together with all our patches and stuff, is always with a very good friend of ours, Mads Bangsø, the original designer of the first Danabro jet. He's great at designing patches and jets, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Mads, I have an idea. Are you in?" And Mads is, no matter what we say to Mads, he's like, "Yes, I'm in." So we developed the design together, and then we pitched it. I pitched it down here for the boss of Skrydstrup and said, "Hey, boss, this is we have an idea. What do you think?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I'll ask the bigger boss." So he went with it to the chief of the Air Force, and we didn't really expect it to be approved because we were only having the F-16s for maybe 2.5, 3 years more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it came down from the boss. He's like, "Yeah, love it. Let's go." So we're like, "Yay, let's go, man!" And that's the story how it started up with the half-century Fighting Falcon Echo 006, the last one we flew, and yeah. So we got that painted. It's one of the first in metallic paint.
Yes.
Which is also a cool feature. I've actually had some spotters complain because it makes focus hard in the sun. And Instagram always reminds me I have to check out the box that says AI for computer designed pictures. And I have to every time say, it's not computer designed.
Yeah.
It's how it actually looks. So it makes for some cool pictures, and it's... I was very happy to fly that jet around. It's an iconic jet, and yeah, so happy with that design as well. People had to get used to it here in Denmark, right? Because a lot of national feelings, and some people in the beginning were like, "Oh, the old one was better," but after a year or two, they're like, "Okay, we really love this one as well." So
yeah, absolutely. And I was lucky enough to see you at RIAT last year, but yeah, TEO. So, what would you say your favorite thing about being the demo pilot on the F-16 for the Danish Air Force is?
It's definitely not the flying. Everybody thinks that, oh yeah, it's the flying, right? The flying is cool. It's also very demanding, and going to air shows is actually really hard work because you're so much on all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's very long days and stuff. But what I really, really enjoy the most is the interaction with the crowds, with the veterans, with you can say the fans, right? But it's that thing about aviation when you are at air shows. It's so positive. It's admiration. It's the young ones, hopes to be a pilot, to be an engineer. Um, it's that shine in their eyes when they look at you and the jet and go like, oh, that's what I want to do, right? So that's the biggest part of it. It's so rewarding, and I think to get to inspire the young generation to be part of this world is an honor, and to represent your country doing that is a remarkable honor, and I've really appreciated all my years doing that.
Well, yeah, you've certainly left a mark on the airshow scene with your amazing displays, dear. So thank you very much. I've been privileged to see you a couple of times, so it's awesome. We've got a couple of personal ones here, and we've also got 2 questions from our patrons, if you're happy to answer those, TEO.
Happy to answer all questions.
Right, so first one of the personal ones. So what are you currently up to?
Currently, we just stopped flying the F-16 here, which of course makes me so sad.
And me.
I'm so happy that we ended on an all-time high, right? You saw last season was amazing on the display scene for us, and it was just a good year in the Danish Air Force, ending the F-16, and we have sold them to Argentina. So we also got to deliver the first 6 at the end of 2025. I was part of that mission as well. Extremely rewarding mission as well. They were so happy to get the jets, and quite the experience crossing the Atlantic with our F-16s, and first time we were ever in South America with our F-16. So that was a great experience as well.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, I thought, a great way to kind of round out the end of the F-16 in Denmark, that we've donated to Ukraine, and we sold them to Argentina. And, we might be done flying them, but those jets are still going to have a purpose and something, some operational stuff to do still. So that was a good way to end it. So right now I'm in the transition of crying salty tears about my lost F-16, and then preparing for the new and remarkable F-35.
Very good. So on that note, actually, I'm going to go into our patrons question, because it kind of fits nicely here, TEO. So in your assessment, this is from Alexander Vatter, by the way. In your assessment, is the F-35 the right replacement for the F-16?
Yes. The short answer is yes. It's also a boring answer, because it all depends, right? You never know what mission type you're going to end up in next. Never. We always try to predict, what's the next war, what's the next mission type, what's the next assignment we are set out to do. And in that regard, the future is difficult, and I would rather, as a pilot, operational pilot, whatever the mission might be, I would prefer to, for my safety and the safety of my comrades and my allies, I would prefer me to be sitting in an F-35 than most other jets on the market right now.
There you go, Alex. Hope that answers that one. And the second one is, was there a specialization in the various squadrons for specific mission profiles, e.g. primarily air-to-air or air-to-ground or anti-ship?
There was back in the day. So back in the day, we also had a recce capability with recce pods, which was a specialized mission set trained in Aalborg when we had squadrons up in the northern part of Denmark. So that was a special mission set they had. So back in the day, it was air-to-air squadrons, air-to-ground, stuff like that. But for my entire period, my entire career on the F-16, it's been the multi-role. So both air-to-air, air-to-ground, close-air support. No seat, but that's the only, I'll say that's the only mission type we have not done on the Danish F-16.
Great. Well, thanks for the questions, Alex. And the last few questions here to wrap up. So, TEO, do you have any hobbies?
Yes, I love sports. So anything active is a hobby. I just went skiing with my son. I love to go skiing. Unfortunately, Denmark is, as we say here, flat as a pancake, right? It's no mountains. So we have to go to Norway or Sweden or to the Alps. I just went to Austria for a long weekend with my son to go skiing. I love that. So yeah, but I love sports, active. I play football, run, train, ski, golf, bicycle, whatever there is. I just I love competing. I love sport. So that, I think, sports in general would be the hobby.
Great stuff. I think I know this one. Favorite aircraft you have flown?
Favorite aircraft I have flown?
Yeah.
That is an easy question. My heart will always belong to the F-16.
Right. One you would like to fly either past or present?
Oh, so many. So many. I had the pleasure of flying a couple of formation flights with the Silver Spitfire.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's so beautiful. The pilot, Matt, is a great guy as well. We joined up both in Roskilde and also, twice at Roskilde for some flying there. And it's just, the Spitfire is such a nice jet. That and the Mustang, would love to fly those if we go back in time. And if I had the chance, I would love to fly the Raptor.
Yeah. Heard that a few times, yeah.
I think most pilots will say that, right? But
yeah.
Oh, I would love to do a little bit of that square loop shit.
Yeah, looks good fun, doesn't it?
Looks like good fun, exactly.
Yeah. And finally, can we find you online, you personally or the team or anything like that?
You can always find me online. It's called f16.solodisplay.rdaf, Royal Danish Air Force. So I'll maintain that profile. It's Instagram and Facebook. And if people want to ask me anything, they can always write in there. I try to reply everybody.
Brilliant stuff. Well, TEO, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure.